Hi everyone, welcome back to Our the Star Wars Story. Today I'm going to be talking about Cad Bane's story from Tales of the Underworld. I finally got around to watching them, and let's just say this was a roller coaster. So first off, I did not expect them to do Cad as an orphan. Like, that was surprising to me. And it ties into the ending, and that was like really cool. Like, they made that like tie into the ending. Oh, hi Henry. There's my cat. But it was just like really interesting to see how they did that. And then Nero, I was like these guys are good friends, and like I liked seeing them like work together and like figure things out. And they were being kids, they were being mischievous, they were getting into trouble, as one does. And I thought that was like really cool to see. I also was like though super like surprised, and like whenever they brought in that when they brought in like the underworld character that Cad, I don't know why I said Kane, starts working for. Like I thought that was like really interesting to see, which I guess I should have figured that they would have done something like that, because they can't. I guess my point of view would just been that like something happened and he wanted revenge, and that's how he became Cad Bane. But I guess the way they did it makes more sense. And so he was like a really interesting character. I think it was Liz Rowe. I think that's how it was. And it was a really interesting character, and I liked seeing that. And I liked seeing like how Cad learned from it. But at the same time, I was so sad whenever Nero got in trouble. I was like, oh no. Sorry. I was like, oh no. And I was like, something's gonna happen later, and it's not gonna end well. Sorry. Okay. Something's gonna happen, and it's not gonna end well, and it's gonna involve Nero and Cad. And I was right. And then we jump after Nero's been arrested, after they robbed the shop, or they didn't rob it, but they shut down what was going on there, because it was ruining Lizzo's business. So after they shut that down, they started running from the cops. Nero gets arrested, and Cad gets away. We jump to Cad is probably 16, maybe. Looks like in his teens to maybe early 20s, it looks like. I can't guess, we didn't have an exact timeline. But that would be my guess. And we see him go back to his home planet. Or go back to his hometown, I guess I should say. We see him go. Or I guess I should say, we don't see him go until the end. We see him asked to go with Lizlo. He's like, this is my hometown, please, I want to go. And he's like, don't make it, and Lizlo's like, don't make it personal, kid. No, stay here and man the ship. And we see him stay with Aaron, which immediately I was like, there's something between these two. There is. And later on we find out there is. And so I was like, okay. And then we see the ship come back. It's pretty much destroyed. The pilot dies, and Lizlo was dead. After the pilot says, before the pilot dies, the pilot says, well, Lizlo was killed. The marshal got him. And so he's dead, and then the captain, and then the pilot dies. And so the only thing I have left is Lizlo's hat. And we later see that that's Cad Bane's hat. Like, that becomes Cad Bane's hat. And I thought that was, like, really cool, like, to see. Like, that's how he got the hat. Because we know that's such a big part of his character. Like, that's something a lot of people like, is his hat. And I thought that was really interesting to see. And I loved getting to see that part. And so we know that him and Aaron go back out trying to, going to get revenge on the marshal. He stops, reminisces at the shop where he lost Nero. And then we see Nero come back. And he's talking to Nero, and he's like, I just, stay out of the way. I don't want you to get hurt. Because, like, there's still friendship there, even though he left him, which made me so sad, like, watching Cad choose himself over Nero. Like, this is your best friend we're talking about. And you're just like, sorry. But he still cares. Even though he left him, he still cares. And we see that. And he's like, I just don't want you to be around whenever this is happening. And so Nero is like, well, I'm the sheriff. And that, I immediately was like, yep, something is going to happen, and it's going to end up something with Nero dying. And I really hoped it wasn't going to be true, but as soon as I saw them, like, that's going to happen. And so we see the marshal go out whenever he finds that out, because what does Cad do? He blows up the shop to get attention, to get the marshal to come out. So Marshall goes out, and they have a standoff, and the marshal ends up getting shot and killed. And then we see Cad and Nero is the sheriff. He has to do his job, which means taking Cad in. And we see that he doesn't want to do it, but he did just shoot the marshal, so he knows what he has to do. But at this point, Aaron also, who came with him on the ship, saw the explosion and knew that something was wrong. So Aaron shows up, and she ended up taking the marshal's shot. The marshal shot at Cad, it missed and hit Aaron in the shoulder. But Cad got a direct hit. Sorry, that's my brother's alarm clock. And so he ended up getting killed, while Aaron ended up getting shot in the shoulder. So Cad tries to save her and pick her. So Cad tries to take her and, get to the ship, but they're surrounded at this point. And while Aaron is down saying, "We have a future together, Cad, but you have to do this. You have to turn yourself in." He's like, "I can't do that. I need to save you." And she's like, "We have a future together." Okay? Like, she's doing all this, and while she's talking like that, she takes his blaster. And so he ends up getting arrested and taken to jail and, sent away to prison. And then that's where the episode ends. And then we come back. And Cad Bane is several years later. Nero is much older. Cad Bane is much older. They're all much older. And so, we jump forward, and Nero is now the new marshal. We see the new sheriff and all that. The sheriff is a big scaredy cat. We see that. He does not want to fight. And especially when he finds out that Cad is coming back, he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm out of here." And we know he quits. And then I knew something was off because they kept saying, well, yeah, once Cad Bane finds out what happened to Aaron, he's going to want revenge. He's coming back for her, and once he finds out what happens, he's going to want revenge. And I was just like, it isn't true, right? Nero and Aaron didn't get married, right? That didn't happen, right? And then we see that Nero has a kid. And I was like, it happened, didn't it? And I was like, at that point, I knew Nero was going to die. And I was just, so heartbroken, especially leading up to it, too. So we see Cad arrives. He goes up, and he talks to Nero. And Nero's like, well, Aaron died, years ago. Several years ago, she died. And that's when Cad realizes that, there's a kid, that Nero has a kid. And so he's like, don't worry, I'll take good care of him. And then, at the end of the day, Nero and him get into a standoff. Nero tries to fire, misses, and Cad shoots him and kills him, leaving Nero's kid. And Nero's kid is named Isaac, leaving him orphaned, just like Cad Bane was. I was heartbroken. That's what I was talking about. From the start, we see that Nero and Cad were orphans. And then, full circle moment, Isaac is now orphaned by Cad and Nero. Nero should not have married Aaron. And his excuse for that was, I saved her. So, believe me, as much as I like Nero, I'm like, you should not have married Aaron. There are a lot of things that should not have happened here, but all of them, led up to that moment. It was a full circle moment. They both made mistakes, and those mistakes are what left Isaac orphaned. And that makes me sad, because it was a full circle moment. I was like, But yeah, though, I think overall, though, my rating for the series was, an 11 out of 10. It was good. We got some really good backstories, and I loved that, compared to, Tales of the Sith. I loved this. So much more. And it was just so good. But yeah, those are my opinions. Those are my thoughts. Like, getting to recount the story was really interesting, and, like, just getting to think about it, because the entire time I knew something was going to lead up, and I figured Nero would die. As much as I didn't want to happen, I figured it would. But they both made mistakes, and we saw that, and that's what caused Isaac to be orphaned. And so had they not made those mistakes, would Isaac have still been orphaned? I don't know. I think it would have been less likely, but it happened nonetheless. But yeah, that was really fun. I am now watching the new Rebuild the Galaxy season. Oh my word, it's so fun. And I will be giving you guys an update on those once I finish that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and as always, God bless. Bye, guys.